Hello again. So again, welcome to the very interesting lecture of implementation of LangChain. Okay, so let me just go here and just try to implement. Okay, before that, parallelly, I just want to open some other things. So let's say that parallelly, I want to open some LangChain docs. LangChain docs, right? So this I will be referring, and then this Python implementation, and then let's say just to show you, right? LangChain get. Okay, because it is the open source, right? So you can actually like go here and then see and make the commit by yourself. Okay, or whichever like you want to take interest, you can actually go. Like if you just go to this lib, you will find inside the lib there you will find there are many libraries. Okay, so currently, like let's say that if I'm using the LangChain version 1, okay, there is the previous library as well, and like day by day, week by week, hour by hour, okay, someone is actually like contributing it, right? So if I just go there inside the LangChain, you will see there are so many scripts. Okay, that is actually the power of open source, right? That someone can actually like try to edit and try to make shuffle so that it can help a community much better. Okay, so again, let's come back to this one. So the first thing is that we are supposed to do is, first thing is that we will be actually importing this other thing, which is like LangChain OpenAI. Okay, then LangChain Google Generative AI, Hugging Face, LangChain community. Okay, so we will be just like installing all these things from a pip package. So if I just go and open the OpenAI platform, so inside this, if you just go here, right, so you will find in a quick start you will get the API key. I'll tell about this, right? So yeah, so it is actually like installed all these libraries. Now the first thing is that setup and basic incubation, right? So what we are supposed to do is that, again, so let's say that if a user wants to have a conversation with the large language model, right? And for now, let's say that for large language model that we are connecting is like a GPT model, right? Which is like developed by the OpenAI, right? So how do we actually connect it? I already told you before that either as a user has a good server backup, okay, where like he or she can actually try to use the model on-prem, or we can actually access the model which is running into the OpenAI server via API key. Okay, so we are going to apply the second option. So we will just hop into the platform.openai.com, and inside this quick start, if we'll go into the API key, so we can actually like generate the API key, right? So you just need to like type the API key as test. Okay, and then the API key will be generated, and you are supposed to copy that API key, right? So from here you will get quality piece of API key. And again, you need to like, because I'm using the OpenAI, so I have already like credited the $5, so you can like take use of it. Because again, why crediting the $5? Because you are actually using their large language model, right? So you need to and wanted to integrate into your system development, right? There is a free option as well. I will show you the free option as well, but currently like we are actually like try to implement it by the including the OpenAI model, which is like GPT model, right? So that is why. So the number one part is that we have actually installed the package. Okay, now let's try to use the OpenAI. Okay, and from this OpenAI, let's try to connect the user with this LLM, right? So what we are supposed to do is that whatever the API key that we have like copied, right? So just go to this key section, and inside the notebook access, in the just type this OpenAI API key. Okay, so what it will do is that it will secretly try the notebook itself secretly try to like install like use the API key, and you can actually like from the google.collab, so you can just use the Google user data just to import the API key. That's it. So that like you don't need to explicitly show your API key like into the notebook. If you're actually using some other IDE, so you can just apply it into the .env file. So inside this you can just like set your API key. Okay, just to not like world show your actual like what is your API key. That's it. Now again, so after this, so once you have like the imported this API key, now what you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to use this from the LangChain OpenAI chat OpenAI. Okay, now what does this chat OpenAI will do is that it will try to, so it is basically like from LangChain OpenAI is basically some kind of a module, okay, inside some kind of a class, okay, or a structure. Inside this I am going to call this chat OpenAI model. Okay, inside this model I am supposed to give these two as a parameter. Of course there are more parameter will be there. Okay, so I am supposed to select my model, that which model I am supposed to use. Okay, and then what should be the temperature. So temperature means like the more number of temperature you attach So temperature is basically like between 0 to 1. So the more number of temperature you have, the more creativity in answer you will be getting. Okay. Or let's say that if your large language model wanted to adhere a lot of user response, okay, and no creativity, then you should keep the temperature as, let's say, lying between 0 to 0.3. Okay. So based on the temperature, you can actually like try to control your response. That is what I want to tell. Okay, so this is basically the LLM. Now let's say that, so if I just go here, right, so if I just go and if I just write LLM part, right, so this is the entire thing. So this is basically some kind of object, okay, which contain my GPT model, okay, and it has also configured some temperature value. Okay, so let's say that I want my creativity response to be more creative, right? So that is why I've just put the temperature at 0.7. And this is like the chat OpenAI. Okay, chat OpenAI I have actually imported from the LangChain OpenAI. Okay, and from the LangChain OpenAI I have just imported this chat OpenAI, and then from chat OpenAI is basically a method where I'm actually passing these two as a parameter. Okay, now let's say that if user wants to like talk something, okay, which will with your language model, then how can basically he will talk? He will just going to use this llm.invoke. That's it, llm.invoke. Okay, and let's say I'm going to who is the first president of India. Okay, and based on the knowledge base, it is going to give us the response. Okay, and again, like the large model is basically like trained on, let's say, 6 months previous data. So let's say that if today is like December, okay, so it might have trained based on the latest GPT version, okay, whatever GPT version that we are using. So based on that, it has actually like trained on, let's say, some previous set of knowledge base. So it does not contain a very immediate currently occurred data, but it will going to give you the data, let's say, before 1 year. Okay, so whatever the things that has happened on the 1 year, so they have actually like had this kind of a data, right? So as you can see that like Dr. Rajendra Prasad has served the first president of India. If you just wanted to like invoke the content, so you can just try to use this thing. That's it. Like if you inside the response, if I'm going to put response equals, right, and inside the response, if I just going to put this thing, right, response.content. So you will see that this is your actually the LLM response that you will getting, right? Similarly, you can actually ask some other thing as well, like for example, who won the first cricket World Cup? Answer in Hindi and English. Okay, so based on that, it is supposed to answer it. It is just like whatever the knowledge that my language model has accumulated. Okay, and based on that language, based on the user query, it is supposed to give you the answer. Okay, so you can see that like the West Indies has the first cricket World Cup, and then like it has also used as a translation. So it is just acting as chatting if you are actually going to any other chat based model. Okay, the model like the chat based interface which is provided by the OpenAI, which is like chat GPT. Okay, so it's just like talking to your chat GPT but in a developing environment. That's it, right? So that you can actually try to use this code and try to integrate it into your system, okay, as a chatbot. Okay, so that is why. So these things you have understood, right? The first one is like the basic imports of LLM and how as a user can like try to communicate with your large language model, right? Again, I'm not giving any prompt or anything. This is just a basic imports. Okay, this is just a basic import of connecting the user to the large language model through a developing environment, right? So this is via LangChain framework. That's it. Now the other thing is that again prompting. So I already told you that suppose if user wants to give any prompts, right, so that the large language model can basically turn its direction to the where it has a good source of knowledge repository. Okay, so that it can actually answer you in a more precise format. Okay, so how do you basically do that thing? So you are supposed to like install. So suppose you are supposed to import this LangChain core dot prompt. Okay? Again, so if you're worried about these things like where I'm actually importing, just go to this one. From the LangChain, if I go here inside the libs, Okay, so these are basically the different script is there. Okay, so if I just go to the LangChain classic, so you will see other things. Okay, you have like so many other repository and sub repository. Okay, so you can actually like, so I am just calling these things like from here. So I'm just calling this LangChain core.prompt. Okay, if I just go here and find out the LangChain core, so you will find out somewhere there has to be some core will be present, right? So let me just go to this LangChain and the ellipse, the core part. Okay, and from here I am calling the LangChain core. Okay, see this one, right? From the LangChain core, if I go inside the LangChain core, now from this I am actually calling this chat prompt template. Okay, so if I just go here, so you will see there are so many other libraries. Okay, there are so many other things, and I will be calling the chat prompt template, right? So in this way you are supposed to call model by model. Okay, so first I will go inside my LangChain, from LangChain core, and from LangChain core I'm supposed to call this thing, right? The chat prompt template. Let me see if there is this template present in this version, otherwise I need to switch back to the other version. Okay, so this is not a chat prompt template, there has to be someone else. If I go back, scripts, check imports, or let me use some other thing. See, anyway you don't need to see anything, but I wanted to show you, that's why. Let me just copy it here into my this thing. I will take use of this copilot. Go back, copilot assistive, help me to find out the LangChain core chat prompt template function or model. Okay, I'm just taking the use of this thing, that's it. So it is present in LangChain prompts library. Okay, so from, if I just go to this one, Lang core, if I go to prompts, I will be getting this chat prompt template. Where is it? Inside the prompt, then chat.py. This is the model placeholder. This is the format message. This is the basic class. This is the chat message prompt template. Okay. Let me find that library. See, I just want to show you, that's it. Like anyway, this one, right? Chat prompt template. If I go here, Control C, just go here. Let me find out this thing. This is the function. See, this is what I wanted to tell you. Okay, so this is inside this class. I am going to call these things. Okay, so this is internally, it is actually calling, it is actually internally it is calling these things, right? So if I just go and find out this thing, chat prompt template, this is the class. Okay, see, this is the chat prompt template class. Okay, inside this class I am actually inheriting this class. Okay, and what does this class will do? This class is basically meant for instructing your language model. Okay, this class is, just understand this. Okay, this class is basically meant for instructing your language model by giving some set of system or user prompt. Okay, so that next time whenever user is actually communicating with your large language model, he or she will get a very good set of response. Okay, so that is basically, so this is why I have already like imported these things. Okay, so my main purpose of importing all these things, because see, there are so many libraries, right? Because it is open source, right? So there are so many libraries are getting, there are so many module, submodel, python.py file, .javascript file, there are so many file which is like the developer, the open source community are like making it, and they are actually like so many people are committing it, right? So now I just want to show you that which are those basic, very few frequently used class or libraries or imports that you are supposed to use as a practitioner, okay, as a generative AI, as a LLM engineer, so that you will, because again, as a R&D part, you can actually go and check other thing as well, right? Other repository as well, right? So I just wanted to show you that from where I'm actually importing these things, okay? So that I will actually attach these things and again give you as a all these things as a report, so that you can actually take use of it, right? So I just wanted to show you that from where I'm actually calling, okay? Again, so what I'm supposed to do is I've actually called this chat prompt template, okay? And from chat prompt template, I am supposed to call this from method, okay? From, because in the class I am going to call this as a from message as a method, and inside this method I am supposed to pass this, okay? So what I'm supposed to passing, I'm supposed to pass as a system prompt, which means that you are a very helpful AI assistant specialized in topic, and user is actually asking some questions. So there is a system, there is a user, there is a system, there is a user, in this kind of a format, okay? So if I just going to use it, I will be using this chain. I have already told you that chain is what? Chain is basically like whenever, right? See, before that I did not have any chain. Why? Because I was singularly asking a question with the LLM, okay? I was just asking the question with the OpenAI GPT LLM, okay, large language model, okay, and then it is supposed to give me the response. Here I am actually, other than asking the question to the LLM, I am also attaching a prompt template, okay, as an instructor. For this I need to use chaining, okay? That is why I am using this chaining, okay? So this is basically the chaining operator, where I will be passing my prompt, I will be passing my LLM, okay? Now let's say that user wants to ask something. How user will going to ask? Now from everything is getting like inscribed into the chain method, okay? So now I will be calling this chain, I will no longer be calling this LLM. Why? Because LLM I have already imported before, right? With the LLM I have like now attached the prompt, okay, and saved it into the chain, okay? So from now I will be asking question from chain. So if I just going to ask chain.invoke, okay, if I going to ask chain.invoke, let's say that I am asking about something like, for example, the topic is, because this topic has to go here, right? So the topic is, let's say, the politics, okay, politics, and then like who, like give me the list of presidents of US who has made some good policy changes, okay? So while it is actually like giving us the response, so it is taking time, of course, because it's thinking. You can actually use some other lightweight model, so you won't get such delay, that's why. Okay, so it is actually like giving in the response in this one. Let me just point out response.content. Why? See, if I just going to see the type of response, right? The response, it has to be in this format, right? So I just need to print the response.content, because I just need a content part, right? This part. So this is like, it is a subjective issue, and this, so it is actually giving me a good response, but like I want into the structured response. Okay, I'll tell you later at what. So now let's do something else, okay? Let's just try to use that you are a helpful AI assistant, okay, specialized in this topic. Try to give answers in funny way, okay? I have specified some system prompt. I have instructed something that whatever the user is supposed to ask question, just try to answer it in a funny way. That's it, right? Now let's say that topic, I am supposed to ask the topic as maths, okay? See, this is just channeling the large language model so that it can give us the better response. That is why I'm just giving this as a prompt. Okay, so the question is like, what is 2 plus 2? Okay, this is the simple question that I'm supposed to ask. And let me just print the response, what it is actually responding. Print response dot content, right? Even my calculator answered that before I just finished thinking about it, right? So it is 4. So see, that is the main thing, right? So you can actually like try to manipulate or try to instruct your large language model so that it can actually start giving us a response either in a funny format, or let's say in translated script, or let's say in sarcastic tone, or let's say in the fully elaborated tone. Each and everything I will be just passing my system message, right? So that it can actually be able to give me the response, right? Now, so other thing is like, just before this you were getting some, so I have actually asked the question about this, the politics part, right? And you are actually getting a response in a very, let's say, unstructured format, right? So you, if you really wanted to make it a response a proper in a very clean way, so that is why, so for now, so for this you are supposed to call this structure output parser. Okay, so from LangChain core, again from LangChain core, there is a library. From this like method, I am going to call, let's say, this sub folder or sub module, and from this I am supposed to call this as a method. Okay, and I am just attaching this into my chain. Okay, so earlier I have LLM model. Okay, after that I have instructed the LLM model with my prompt. That is fine. Okay, now what I want to do is that whatever the output I am getting, I want to get a very clean output. That is why this is like the another set of a helper function, okay, which helps my chain whenever I pass this chain dot invoke. So it is supposed to give me the output in a very clean format. Okay, so suppose if I just ask a question related to politics, again politics. Okay, then if I go just going to ask, you know, which are, or let's say in the history, which are the good list of politicians, give me their work in the field of humanity. Anything, okay, any question I am going to ask. Let me just get the response. Okay, in the chat prompt, topic politics. If you're intended to do topics, I need to attach something. Did I miss something? Okay, I need to keep this as a topic. Sorry, my bad. Okay, now let's try to observe the output. Okay, that after attaching this str output parser, how my output is getting cleaned up, right? Okay, so now you can actually see the output, right? It is completely cleaned up, right? So these things, okay, these things I think you, like, no one is going to tell you about, because these things are already like, I have just taken out these things just by reading the entire repo. Okay, so that you yourself able to like not go and search somewhere else, right? So this is why. Okay, so now again revising one more time. The first thing is that about like how to connect your LLM with your with the user. Okay, then the other thing is like how to invoke the LLM with some extra suggestive prompt, so that the LLM is going to channel into its own knowledge repository to give you the most precise answer by just attaching this system prompt. Okay, and then we are actually using the chaining. Okay, we are actually attaching the LLM with the prompt, so that by using the chain dot invoke, whatever the question we ask based on the suggested system prompt, it is supposed to give me the output. Now similarly, if you're not getting output in a very proper well structured format, then we are supposed to use this str output parser as a method, as a helper function. Okay, so that we can get the output in a very cleaner way. Okay, So now let's try to understand about, so we know about this chaining, okay, that how does chain work, okay. So we have actually a prompt, we have actually a LLM, we have actually a parser, okay, and then this is basically a chain. So we are like prompt, LLM, and then output, parser, and another thing, right? Now let's move into some other thing. So for example, suppose if I give you a multiple prompt, like multiple system prompt or multiple instruction, okay. So you have one set of LLM, and let's say, can I give the multiple prompt, okay, can I give the multiple prompt? The answer is yes. What I want to tell you is something like this, like for example, what I want is, let's say that initially I ask any question, okay, and the first prompt that I have given is like do the text translation, okay, and after text translation the second prompt sequentially has to follow the summarization step. So for example, just these things. So suppose in the LLM, okay, is it possible to just give this sequential step just to follow some set of rule, okay, just to follow some set of, let's say, rule based system, okay, so that user can get output in a more structurized format? The answer is yes, okay. So there we are supposed to use, which is called the runnable pass through, okay. So from LangChain core, many people are actually using this runnables, okay. That is why I'm actually adding this point, okay. So if I just going to import these things, now what I will do is that, so let's say that the first prompt is like I want to give is that translate it into the Hindi, okay. So this is the first prompt, okay. The other prompt is basically a summary prompt, okay, where whatever the user has asked, right, so after translating it into the Hindi, it will then try to explain those asked question into a 5 points, okay. So this is basically my prompt number 2. Now what I will do is that, so this is basically my translated chaining, right? So chaining means like this is my prompt, this is my large language model, and this is my helper output structured function, okay, which helps us to structurize the output, okay. Similarly, when it comes to the summary chain, you can actually make a separate chain also. So this is my first chain, this is my second chain, okay, and you can basically concatenate these two chain, okay. So this is like chains of chains, okay. One chain is basically used to do some kind of a task by giving some prompt, another chain is basically used to do some side of a task by giving some another prompt, and now what you are supposed to do is, as you are basically supposed to concatenate the chain 1 and the chain 2. I hope you are getting it right, chain 1 and the chain 2, okay. So that suppose the full chain is basically, first it will going to translate it, and then it will going to create a summary. And let's say that if I'm going to ask any question, right, if I'm going to ask any question, so I'll tell you one more thing. So if I just going to ask that, can you write me, let's say that my name is Aryan and I am taking the lecture on generative AI for my lovely students and community. It seems like most of those people are taking interest in the lecture and they really want to make an impact, okay. This is my prompt, like this is what I have asked her, okay. So if I just going to do full chain dot invoke, right, so first it is going to call the translated chain. When I say translated chain, it means that first it will go here, okay. So it will like use the LLM, the same LLM, okay, but it will going to use the translated prompt, okay, which means my first these things has to be converted into the Hindi sentence, and after converting the Hindi sentence it is going to give me the output, okay. And all this output has to go into my this summary chain, okay, so that it will going to summarize everything, okay. So this is the sequential structure. If I just going to ask and then print it, you will get it what I wanted to tell, okay. So this is like a parallel plus sequence structure. So just get the output, you will understand what I wanted to tell, okay. So it is like basically like you have a one set of common large language model, right, but you are explicitly creating different chain, okay, independent of each other, and each chain is basically attached to one set of a system prompt, okay. Similarly, the other chain is basically like attached to do some kind of a system task, okay, with some system prompt. Similarly, other chain, okay, and then finally you are going to concatenate every chain into a sequential way, so that first chain is going to, like, after getting the output of the first chain with this system prompt, adhering the system prompt, whatever the output that you're getting, that output has to go to the second chain, okay. See, this is really great, right? Because the first thing is that whatever the things that I have already, the user has already input. Okay, so the first thing is that it is going to call the first a translated chain. Okay, so now it is going to translate everything. So it is going to translate my name is Aryan and all these things. Okay, first it will going to translating all these things, right? Now after translating, what has it done? So it has again called the summary chain. Okay, so that it will basically summarize all these things into a 5 point. Okay, see, explain these things into a 5 point. Okay, so see these things. If I just going to like check the translated chain, you will going to get like, so if I just going to ask, let's say result is equals to translated chain, and then this thing, result is equal to translated chain, and let me ask the same question. Okay, you can also practice like with myself, so there is no restriction. Take a laptop with me and then just practice it, you can just get it. So yeah, see, it has just translated. Okay, because the chain that I was using is basically just a translated chain, right? Now the output of this chain, it is actually going it like into the summary chain. Okay, so in that is summary chain, like there is a summary prompt. Okay, so in this summary prompt it is given explain these things into a 5 point, which means the output of first chain has to go into feeding it into the summary chain, so that it is supposed to give me the answer like this. Okay, so now I think you will understand. Okay, that first initially what I have used, I have just used the chaining method. Okay, chaining method just to connect my LLM with my prompt. Okay, and then let's say some output structure parser. Okay, so that I will get the output like this, and this is just a single chain. Okay, suppose I can make a multiple chain means multiple different kind of a prompt. Okay, and then I am going to attaching this chain independently, that which one should come first, which one should come second time, so that whenever the user is asking any question, so the first chain is going to execute something, the output of first chain has to go into the input of second chain, then it will going to execute something, and finally you will get the output something like this. Okay, so this is a very good way of practicing your LLM, right?